The French don't use nous in the way you learn it as a foreigner. If your goal is to sound more like a native speaker, then let me tell you in this video how not to use nous, what to do instead, and how you can use it safely. Du coup, si vous êtes prêts, allez, c'est parti! Salut tout le monde, j'espère que vous allez bien. Je m'appelle Alex and I'm your friendly native English speaking French coach, and I've been learning French for the best part of the past decade. Here on my channel, I help you to speak French with confidence by explaining the French language in clear spoken English. So what we're going to do in this video is to see why you should stop using nous to sound instantly more native. And then I'm going to tell you how we do in fact use it, because oui, it is a nuanced topic. However, it's going to be really clear the way I explain it. Oh, and stick around until the end to participate in le petit quiz that I'll give you so you can test your new skills. Alors, what you've probably learned is that to say a sentence like, we are learning French, you need to say, well, actually, I'll ask you how you've been taught to say it, and then I'll tell you in a couple of seconds. Hopefully you said nous apprenons le français, or maybe even nous sommes en train d'apprendre le français. Both can be right. Now, grammatically, these are both perfect. Here, nous is what we call le pronom sujet, or the subject pronoun of the sentence. However, in everyday situations, whether it be a coffee with a friend or a more formal one with a doctor, the French will typically say on for we instead of nous. So what then does nous apprenons le français look like if nous apprenons is replaced by on? I'll give you a couple seconds. C'est bien ça. On apprend le français. On apprend le français. Now, whether it's the present, like that example sentence, the past, or the future, we is on instead of nous. So, nous sommes allés au cinéma for we went to the cinema becomes on est allé au cinéma. On est allé au cinéma. Nous allons acheter une nouvelle maison for we're going to buy a new house becomes on va acheter une nouvelle maison. On va acheter une nouvelle maison. Here's another case for the more advanced among you. When the verb is a pronominal verb, e.g. se tromper, to make a mistake, se plaindre, to complain, we have to use the reflexive pronoun se. And this pronoun must agree with the subject. So if the subject is nous, then the reflexive pronoun is also nous. Nous nous sommes trompés. We made a mistake. But if we swap the subject nous for on, like I recommend you do, then the reflexive pronoun has to be se, because that's the rule for matching the reflexive pronoun with the subject on. So swapping nous for on is a fantastic way to instantly sound more like a native speaker. Sounding native is made up of many different qualities, expressions, etc. But you can tick this one off your list really quickly, because if you've learned the conjugations for nous, there's a high chance you've also learned them for il, elle, and on, which are the same for all three of those subjects. And this is a nice time to tell you that while you can say allons-y for let's go, allons being the nous form of aller in the present, most of the time you'll hear it said as on y va, literally we go, or we go there. Now it's time to tell you that while nous isn't used for we, it is still used tous les jours in various ways to mean us. And it's crucial that you use nous in these scenarios. So it's crucial that you stick around for this next part of the video. On y va? Yes, on y va, but first I need to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and I assure you it's related to what we're teaching here in this video. You may have heard me talk about them before. They are LingoPie. I could have picked any video to include the sponsored part, but I chose this one because watching French videos that are made for native speakers is a great way to be exposed to natural, organic French, such as lots of examples of on used instead of nous. It can be hard to change habits in the language, but hearing on used instead of nous over and over and over again is a surefire way to get those habits to change fast. Here are examples that I found from 3 shows available on LingoPie. By the way, LingoPie is like Netflix, except that it's been made for language learners in mind. So it has tons of great shows and films, but it also has tons of interactive features that allow you to learn real French from wherever you like, such as clickable subtitles and transcriptions in both English and French, and the ability to test your pronunciation against that of the person in the show or the film. So here are those examples that I tracked down of on being used instead of nous.
Rendors-toi.
Donc on se voit cette nuit?
Ouais, c'est ça, dans tes rêves.
C'est ça. c'est bien moi?
Oui, je vois ça. Mais on s'est jamais rencontrés, hein. Quelqu'un comme toi, je m'en souviendrai.
Merci, c'est gentil.
Non, c'est pas gentil.
On est mené à faire des choix. Même s'ils sont difficiles, on se dit qu'on les fait pour les êtres aimés.
C'est ton père et c'est mon mari aussi. Ça reste mon mari malgré tous les moments difficiles qu'on a vécus.
Bien sûr qu'ils sont cons comme leurs pieds. Si seulement on pouvait savoir ce qu'ils ont dans leur petite tête, là.
On n'a que les infiltrer.
Très bon. On les infiltre.
Voila. If that's not proof for the skeptics among you, I don't know what is. And I, by nature, am a skeptic, but when I heard all around me, I was a convert. One thing you can do with LingoPie to help you remember this rule is to create flashcards. Their flashcards are created automatically when you click on a word in the transcript or the subtitles, and they get stored with that part of the video for maximum context. So you can just click, create the flashcard and carry on watching, and then you can review them at any time. And you can even now watch your favorite Netflix shows and enjoy the power of LingoPie because they have a free browser extension. You do, however, have to be a Netflix subscriber for this feature. If you sign up to LingoPie today via the link in the video's description or top comment, you'll get 70% off a lifetime subscription. Thanks so much to LingoPie for continuing to support French in Plain Sight's mission. Okay, on continue? Allez, on continue. See what I did there? Alors, whereas nous should be replaced by on most of the time in everyday scenarios, it does have some very real uses that you'll want to get used to using. Uses you'll want to get used to using. Numéro 1, as an object pronoun or complément d'objet. You know, you have a subject in a sentence and you can have an object. For example, tu nous as donné les clés. Tu nous as donné les clés. You gave us the keys. Elle nous prend pour des cons. Elle nous prend pour des cons. She takes us for morons. Here, nous can translate to us in English, and it must always be nous. Now, if the subject and the object of the action are the same people, and we're talking about the first person plural, so we, then you would either say nous, but because we're avoiding using nous as a subject, we're going to use on, and the reflexive pronoun has to then change to se, like you've heard before. On s'appelle tous les jours. On s'appelle tous les jours. We call each other every day. The people involved are the same, the subject and the object. On s'inquiète trop. On s'inquiète trop. We worry too much. However, I want to point out that on a fundamental grammatical level, translates best to one, someone, or a person or people in general, right? In English, we often use you, like, no, you don't eat after 1 p.m. We're not talking about you, the person in front of me, we're talking about people in general. In English, we tend to use you, but the French have on for this. So yes, on replaces nous in everyday French to mean we, but fundamentally, on means one, someone, or people in general. Just keep that in mind. In these cases, on is not we, and so we follow the same rule as before. We use nous for us if the object is us, of course, because it doesn't have to be. On nous a montré l'appartement. On nous a montré l'appartement. Someone showed us the apartment, or someone showed us the flat. Ordinarily, it would probably translate a different way to English, like we were shown around the apartment, so it's more passive. But in French, you might say on nous a montré, someone showed us, right? The identity of this person doesn't matter, so we just use on in French. If I said, however, on s'est montré l'appartement, on s'est montré l'appartement, I'd be saying that we showed ourselves the apartment, we showed ourselves the flat. It's reflexive because on and se refer to the same people. Hope that's clear. It would be the equivalent of nous nous sommes montré l'appartement. Nous nous sommes montré l'appartement. So if you use nous for the subject, you need nous for the object. Simple as that. Numéro 2 of the other uses of nous. Nous is also a pronom tonique, which can be thought of as a stressed pronoun. A pronom tonique can be used in a couple of ways. Number 1 is for emphasis of the people involved in the action. English has the same, but I find in French they use it far more in everyday conversations. They like to emphasize the people involved. Again, think of the stressed pronoun nous as us in English. It can go at the start or at the end of an action, sometimes in the middle as well, but it always has to be nous, even if the subject is on. For example, vous faites quoi ce week-end, vous? Nous, on va à la plage. Nous, on va à la plage. I use the stressed pronoun for vous here, which is also vous. Vous faites quoi ce week-end, vous? Just to be as realistic as possible. What are you doing this weekend, you or you guys, something like that? We're going to the beach. Nous, on va à la plage, because I changed the subject nous to on. Nous, on va à la plage. But the pronom tonique nous for emphasis doesn't change. Nous, comma, on va. It's actually entirely possible to have 3 nous in a row too. Crazy, I know. But nous nous appelons tous les soirs is a legitimate French sentence. Nous nous appelons tous les soirs. But of course, as you now know, the second and third nous would become on and s apostrophe to give nous on s'appelle tous les soirs. Nous on s'appelle tous les soirs. We call each other every evening, or literally translated, us, we call each other every evening. Okay, I'm watching the edit of this video and I realize I say that there are 2 typical ways that stressed pronouns are used and I only give one. So here's the second one. The second one is when you need to refer to a person or people after a preposition. So for example, the preposition pour or the preposition avec. So the sentence, tu viens avec nous. Tu viens avec nous. Here it translates to us as well, right? So in that case, you can only use nous. You can't use on because on is a subject pronoun only. So here, very legitimate way you can only use nous when you're referring to the second person plural. Tu viens avec nous, or with the preposition pour, you would say, est-ce que c'est pour nous? Est-ce que c'est pour nous? For example, is that for us?
Pour nous.
Is this for us? Voilà, so that's the second way you can use a pronom tonique. On retourne à la vidéo. Okay, let's do a little recap. Stop using nous as a subject if you want to sound like the natives. Use on instead. And if you're using a pronominal verb and you use the subject of on, then the reflexive pronoun needs to be se. So on s'est trompé, for example, instead of nous nous sommes trompés. You do, however, want to use nous when it is the object of a verb and the subject is not nous. Tu nous as donné les clés, for example. Here, nous means us. You gave us the keys. You need to use nous here. This also includes when on is the subject but isn't a replacement for nous. On nous a montré l'appartement uses on as the subject to refer to someone whose identity isn't important. And finally, do use nous when it is a pronom tonique or stressed pronoun. For example, nous, on va à la plage. Nous, on va à la plage. C'est parti pour le petit quiz. Let me know your answers down in the comments and I'll do my best to go through them and respond. How would you say we don't need any milk in everyday French? Vrai ou faux? True or false? On nous voit tous les matins means we see each other every morning. Is that true or false? Rewrite the following sentence. Nous habitons à Paris dans une maison que nous avons achetée. I can't wait to see your answers down below in the comments. If what you've watched today is too hard for you, then please don't worry. This is probably just too advanced for you right now. Or maybe you understood some of it and then it got a bit too complex. Don't worry, I tried to just make a complete guide to nous in one video. Obviously there are levels to it. Don't worry about it. Come back later when you're a little more advanced and you'll probably understand more. If you do have any questions about it, do also ask them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to come and answer them. Merci beaucoup tout le monde d'avoir regardé. Please leave a like on the video. It really helps me spread my work to other people learning French and I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Sinon, on se reverra dans une prochaine vidéo. See what I did there? I didn't use nous. Ciao, ciao et bon français.